Hi, this is Remembering the Past, the show where we talk about people who've died recently who've had a profound effect on our history, our society, or our culture. I'm not going to start out with a person tonight, but with a business. The department store Carson's, formerly Carson Pirie Scott, is dying after 164 years. I finally remember my mom taking me one in the mall when I was a little boy and the one downtown on State Street. Here's the Chicago Tribune on the closing of Carson's. Carson's will shut down its department stores by late summer after more than 160 years in operation. After parent company Bon-Ton Stores failed to find a bidder willing to keep the business going, a bankruptcy judge on Wednesday approved the sale of the company's assets, including Carson's and other retail chains, to a joint venture of two liquidation firms and a group of company bondholders. Flagship of Carson Pirie Scott was once among a full lineup of showy department stores, including Marshall Field, Sears, Montgomery Ward, Henry C. Litton and Company, and Wiebolt stores that called Chicago's State Street home. None of those names can be found there today. The changes on State Street mirror changes in the broader retail industry, as many shoppers have traded department stores for specialty chains, discounters, and more recently online merchants. And it's not just State Street. Department stores that once drew shoppers to suburban malls are pulling back there too, creating large vacancies that are a challenge for weaker malls to fill. Carson's will close 22 Chicago area stores in addition to 4 that were already slated for closure. The chain's demise leaves struggling Sears as the last man standing among Illinois' once mighty department stores. While Bon-Ton is headquartered in York, Pennsylvania and Milwaukee, its Carson's and Bergner's chains began in Illinois, where they maintained a stable presence. Carson's got its start in Amboy, Illinois in 1854 before moving its headquarters to Chicago, where it took the name Carson Pirie Scott and Company in 1890. It opened its Louis Sullivan-designed flagship on State Street in 1904 and remained in operation there for more than a century. Target took over a portion of that space after Carson's closed in 2007. After a series of ownership changes, Carson became part of Bon-Ton, then the country's fifth largest department store chain in 2006. It was a year after Federated Department Stores acquired Marshall Field's, folding the longtime Chicago brand into its Macy's chain. Bon-Ton, however, kept the Carson's name on stores, and earlier this year even floated the idea of extending the brand to more of its stores. Carson's and Bon-Ton are the latest casualties in a sector that lost shoppers to discount and specialty retailers and then online stores, particularly at chains that relied on discounts to drive sales rather than unique merchandise or customer service, said Bob Phibbs, CEO of consulting firm The Retail Doctor. Department stores used to bring a branded experience, he said. Now the experience is all the same. Well, that's progress, I guess. Well, we're going to move on now. We haven't done one of these for a while, but I'm sorry to say it's time. Nabby Tajima, the oldest person in the world, has died. This from the Washington Post. At 117, Nabi Tajima was older than modern-day Australia and everyone else known to live on the planet. Tajima, born August 4, 1900, in Iraqi, Japan, was recognized as the world's oldest person and has passed on that mantle. She died Saturday, having been hospitalized since January, the AP reported, and she was the last known person born in the 19th century, which ended on January 1, 1901. She was living in the town of Kakai on Kyushu, the southernmost of Japan's 4 main islands, the AP reported. She passed away as if falling asleep. As she had been a hard worker, I want to tell her rest well, said Tajima's 65-year-old grandson, Hiroyuki. The title of world's oldest living person is a remarkable if fleeting one. Tajima claimed the distinction in September when fellow 117-year-old Violet Brown died in Jamaica. Brown was the oldest person in the world for about 5 months. Tajima was in the exclusive group of supercentenarians, people who have crossed the 110-year threshold. The U.S.-based Gerontology Research Group, which tracks certified people who have become supercentenarians, reports 36 worldwide. All but 1 of them are women and 18 of them are in Japan. Good diets and supportive family structure have been linked to Japan's world-leading life expectancy. Tajima straddled the 19th, 20th, and 21st centuries and is one of the few people who could recall a time before World War I. 2 days after her 45th birthday, the U.S. dropped the first of the 2 atomic bombs northeast of her home island. Her legacy is similarly expansive. She had 9 children and 160 descendants, including great-great-great-grandchildren, the Gerontology Research Group said. Tajima's secret to longevity was eating delicious things and sleeping well. She danced with her hands at the sound of a samisen, a traditional 3-string instrument. Chiyo Miyako, also in Japan, has become the world's oldest person according to the group. At 116 years and 355 days, she has about 9 months to reach her countrywoman's mark of 117 years and 260 days. Miyako would not have to travel far to visit her male compatriot. Japan's Masazo Nonaka, at 112 years and 271 days old, was confirmed to be the world's oldest man by the Guinness World Record book this month. The organization had been set to recognize Tajima before she died. So all I can say is let's hope we don't have to do Chiyo Miyako in our podcast for some time. Okay, we're going to move on now to Bruno Sammartino, who died recently at the age of 82. Okay, I know professional wrestling is fake, but Bruno Sammartino was the living embodiment of professional wrestling in the 1960s and 1970s. He was a nice Italian boy from Italy. His family had to hide from the Nazis for over a year during World War II. They immigrated to the United States. He almost made the U.S. Olympic wrestling team in 1956, and then he gravitated towards professional wrestling. He became the Worldwide Wrestling Federation champion for 8 years from 1963 to 1971, and then for another 3.5 years in the 1970s. He was one of the good guys in professional wrestling, and he had intricately staged feuds with wrestlers like Gorilla Monsoon and Killer Kowalski. Here's a short piece on the estimable Bruno Sammartino.
Coming down the aisle from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
He was completely dedicated to wrestling.
The most popular champion in wrestling history.
He wanted to be the best.
Bruno Sammartino!
I always wanted to be like Bruno Sammartino. Just the impression that he had on me. That's the way he carried himself as a man.
In my opinion, he's the greatest champion that WWE ever had. Ever.
Immigrating to America from Abruzzi, Italy as a young teen, Sammartino utilized his storied physical power in local strongman competitions, earning the moniker of the strongest man in the world during his time. The Italian powerhouse soon captured the attention of local professional wrestling promoters, and the rest, as they say, is history.
He was so big, strong, powerful.
Not only was he powerful, but he was resilient. After breaking his neck at the hands of arch-rival Stan Hansen, Sammartino returned to compete just 3 months later at Shea Stadium, proving even a broken neck couldn't keep the living legend down.
In order to be on top, you have to be a winner. When you train hard and you have the confidence in yourself, you don't think about losing, you only think about winning.
On May 17th, 1963, the Italian Superman shocked the world, defeating Buddy Rogers for the WWF Championship in an astonishing 48 seconds.
Mr. Ray, you're looking at a great champion.
Sammartino's dramatic victory would be the beginning of an historic title run of nearly 8 years, a record that stands to this day.
The best celebration for Bruno Sammartino, one of the most popular individuals in the world.
It was in the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden, that Sammartino established himself as a box office icon, headlining 187 NSG sellouts.
When you fill up Madison Square Garden, you're more than a name. You are a part of those people. They came to support him.
He packed Madison Square Garden year in and year out. I think that statement alone explains his greatness.
As a consummate professional and dedicated family man, Sammartino was a role model to millions all over the world. The reigning champ was even honored a private audience with the Pope in the Vatican.
Bruno Sammartino was my father's favorite performer, was his father's favorite performer.
A powerful gentleman and someone who carried the championship with pride and honor.
While Bruno's cumulative championship reign of 4,040 days is arguably his most impressive accomplishment, it pales in comparison to the living legend's stature. For in the 1970s, and even today, no name resonates more in the world of sports or entertainment than that of Bruno Sammartino.
Well, I guess we're going to do sort of a segue here to a guy who once hosted an episode of World Wrestling Entertainment. I'm going to make a short mention of a short guy, Verne Troyer, who died recently at the age of 49, at 2 foot 8 inches tall. He is, of course, most famous for portraying Mini-Me in the Austin Powers series. Here is CBS LA on the death of Verne Troyer.
Verne Troyer was only 49 years old when he passed away this morning. His career spanned dozens of movies, but it was his role in the Austin Powers movies that brought him fame. Verne Troyer was the diminutive clone to Mike Meyers' Dr. Evil. At just 2 feet 8 inches, he was considered one of the shortest men in the world. Troyer was born in Sturgis, Michigan with achondroplasia, a genetic condition that kept him less than 3 feet tall.
Well, let's hear Verne Troyer describe exactly what condition he was born with.
A rare type of dwarf. It's called cartilage hair hypoplasia. And, I don't know if you heard of Billy Barty. He was also in the show business. Yeah. And, I'm the same type as him. So you come out, you're born kind of proportioned. You look pretty much normal, except for being small.
Well, even though he was born in Sturgis, Michigan, he came from a smaller town, Centerville. It's in southwest Michigan, not too far from Battle Creek, and he was the pride of Centerville High. A proud graduate of the class of '87, he was manager of the wrestling team, and he and his date were elected homecoming king and queen. There was a plaque to him in the high school and signs in downtown Centerville proclaiming it the home of Verne Troyer. Let's give the last word on Verne to Jonathan Ross of the BBC.
Ladies and gentlemen, will you join me in saying thank you to Mr. Verne Troyer?
Well, we're going to close tonight with two people who had a lot in common. They were both radio personalities, and both of them had many passionate, devoted followers who listened to them religiously, while a lot of other people couldn't figure out the attraction. So I guess it's safe to say that both of them were acquired tastes. The first is Carl Kasell, who died recently at the age of 84. He was a newscaster on National Public Radio for years, but he gained his greatest fame when he joined with host Peter Sagal on the popular NPR program Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me, where he was the official scorekeeper and judge. If you listen to Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me, many people think it's witty, breezy, intelligent, and great entertainment. A smaller subset thinks it's smug, smarmy, and pretentious. I won't go into that in detail. Suffice it to say that they didn't have a huge budget for gifts for contestants on the program, so as a parting gift, they would have Carl Kasell record a voice message with his distinctive voice for the answering machine for contestants' phones. Here's an example for a contestant who had a hard-to-pronounce name.
Hello, from NPR's Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me, this is Carl Kasell. You've reached the voicemail of the Silver Nubbles, the Silver Mumbles, that is, the Silly Nabbles. Oh, for Pete's sake. You know, for decades, I was the voice of NPR, and could pronounce such words as Ahmadinejad, Shia LaBeouf, croissant, Kyrgyzstan. I could even say Economowalk, live on the radio without messing up. Oh well, just leave a message for the Silver Buckles.
Our other subject is Art Bell, who died at the age of 72, or at least they say he did. You never know, it could be a hoax. He had a syndicated radio program called Coast to Coast. It was on late at night, usually after midnight, all over the country, and he dealt with all sorts of bizarre stuff like UFOs and paranormal activity. Like Carl Kasell, he had a devoted following, and like Carl Kasell, there was a subset who just didn't get it. He'd talk about crop circles, or how the Martians killed Kennedy, or mutant frogs caused by irradiation, all sorts of stuff that went over very well late at night. And he'd take callers. Some of them had pseudoscientific backgrounds. Others just wanted to talk about black helicopters for hours. Here's a little bit of what his show sounded like.
There is no doubt about the fact that what you are going to hear tonight is going to be extremely disturbing to some people. And if you have children in the room, act like a parent and get them out. If, in fact, this kind of information disturbs you, you get out of the room. Go turn off the radio. Go listen to music, whatever. I don't know. I just serve up that warning because inevitably I'm castigated for presenting this kind of information. And so if you're the kind of person who is disturbed by it, consider yourself to have been warned. Having said that, coming up in a moment...
I have no idea what was coming up in a moment, but whatever it was bizarre late-night stuff. Well, I'm going to close on that note. I want to thank my producer and IT genius, Sid Tepps. And as a final tribute to Carl Kasell and Art Bell, we're going to play a song about taking a call. Chris Montez did the most popular version of this. Astrid Gilberto did a great version of it too, but I prefer the original by Petula Clark, written by Tony Hatch.
If you're feeling sad and lonely, there's a service I can render. Tell the one who loves you only, I can be so warm and tender. Call me, don't be afraid, you can call me. Maybe it's late, but just call me. Tell me and I'll be around. When it seems your friends desert you, somebody thinking